Good morning, Viewpoint. My golly, Merry Christmas, Mrs. Busby.
Yeah, it's here. It's
And
here.
Merry Christmas
I
to
knew
our
it would
listeners.
come.
Yes.
But you know, today's guests are going to talk about a little bit about Christmas
Oh,
as
is that
well.
why they're here?
They're kind of into it, and you know, it's so easy to forget why we're celebrating Christmas when you're just about strung out trying to get the cards done, the shopping done, the decorating done, the baking done, and all that stuff that I'm sure both of our guests throw up their hands in disgust about.
To ask them what happened about Christmas. Well, we're going to introduce them very shortly.
I hope
I'm going
so.
to,
That would be
I'm
good.
going to ask you to do those honors. We always start Viewpoint, gentlemen, try to start with a kudo. And last weekend, Rich Reinwald and members of churches in town put together a cantata. And I thought that the music was just really outstanding. Father Mark and his wife were there on Sunday evening. And he probably will corroborate what I said as far as the quality of the music was concerned. The fact that the people got together, had very few rehearsals, and to make it sound like it did, it was just really very, very enjoyable. So congratulations to them. I might add, parenthetically, that yes, this is a scene.
Oh, okay.
This is the
well,
scene.
P.S. Last Sunday morning at 10 at First Presbyterian Church, we had a cantata as well. And as somebody who is just very impaired when it comes to anything musical, it just never ceases to amaze me. Julie Casa is a wonderful leader, and it was just thrilling. Those are the kind of things that make you remember, oh, yes, that is indeed why we're here, Bill, as you
Well,
said.
in fact, I think that's a neat thing that you got the Presbyterians worked in there. We got your pastor here this morning, and I think that's most appropriate. And well done, by the way.
Thanks.
Just the way he told you to do it. Rich Reinwald, I mentioned, he gave me the Rodney Dangerfield treatment the other day. I told him that I appreciated being asked to participate in that in a small way. And he said, well, that's good. We'll ask you back next year if you're still here. So I thought that was a good bit of... Oh, public announcement. By golly. I've been asked to announce Denver Snow, one of our roving reporters from Burtonview, asked us to make an announcement that the Triple B Bowling League, their annual Christmas party, has been... they've changed the venue. They've gone from Ed and Benny Wagonconnect's barn to Wilbur Colburn's Memorial Hall over in Beeson. Triple B, gentlemen, would be Burtonview, Broadwell, and Beeson. And so their bowling league has changed. They will furnish Ludafest, and they will furnish Springerly and Pfeffernusse, and I believe they're going to also furnish light lager and pretzels, but a dish to pass is in order.
I see.
That would be,
Well, I'm sure they'll all be looking forward to Lutefisk. Oofta.
Now, seriously, I want to talk just a minute about the Wounded Warriors Project. We are aware of that, and if you're not aware about that out there in Etherland, Cyberland, we need to be aware of that. It is a wonderful program. You know, for early wars, we had a lot of folks who were so grievously injured that they succumbed to the injuries. Today, due to medical science and so forth, we're saving thousands upon thousands of guys. Sometimes you ask maybe for what, because they're so grievously wounded. And the Wounded Warriors Project is something that I would urge everybody, those of you with computers, please get on the internet and just type in woundedwarriors.com. You'll find out what you need to know about that. Avail yourselves of that, and take a minute to see how you can help the Wounded Warriors Project. A little bit each month would be a lot. They do a magnificent program. Some of these folks come home with some real grievous injuries, and they're not all of them all physical either. They have some real mental problems. So, why don't you introduce our nice guest this morning?
I'd like to do that. Oh, because it's the 21st of December, and just inching up more and more quickly every day toward the 25th, we asked Phil Blackburn from First Presbyterian Church here in Lincoln and his neighbor down the block, Reverend Mark Evans, and he is from Trinity Episcopal.
He's the new kid on the block.
He's the new kid on the block, and you'll have
So is this the hazing?
This is the hazing. This is, you got it.
Yes, Phil.
Well, it's not any worse than what I've seen so far.
Well, you'll have to just get kind of close and talk to one another once in a while. Phil laughs because in Logan County, unless you're third generation born, you're still new. And Phil is our new minister at First Presbyterian and has been for 7 years.
Let's see.
So I don't know whether you'll find that down at the Episcopalian corner or not, but I wouldn't doubt it. I just wouldn't doubt it a bit.
It's called, we're open arms there for him. Yes, go right ahead.
Well, and that's good. That's good. And welcome to Lincoln, and welcome to WLCN. Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
joining us this morning.
My wife and I have been very happy with our time here so far. It's a great community. She comes home some days and says, you know, the people are just so nice here.
It's true, though.
She hadn't met all of us yet.
She's just met the church ladies so far. Wait till she gets down the block. But Phil, now you too have enjoyed Lincoln, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You have a real young family that
Yes.
happened since you happened on Lincoln.
They did. They happened in Lincoln.
They
Yes.
did happen,
and
right
they're
here.
eagerly awaiting Christmas.
Oh, I bet they are.
Yes.
Yes. They're the right.
Now, let's get into that part of it a little bit. We talk about Christmases for kids, and the Christmas cards all have the pictures of the children by the Christmas tree and eagerly awaiting the Santa Claus and all the presents. And the little egotists, of course, do in fact believe that Christmas is all about them. And Phil, I think
Nothing
you're
wrong with that.
well, really, you know, I guess if you don't get too carried away, but
That's right.
But it is awfully nice to have little kids. I've got 4 great-grandkids that'll be with us for Christmas Eve. And that does kind of make things special.
Yeah, it changes the celebration a little bit.
It
Yeah.
changes your whole life a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, mostly just Christmas, but yeah.
But now at your house, you don't get into what my boss's daughter said to her about their home. She said it looks like Christmas threw up in our house. And mine does. I mean, it's everywhere. It's in the bathroom, it's in the kitchen. We've got Christmas absolutely everywhere, and it does look like Christmas threw up in my house. It truly does. But you kind of avoid that
Well,
intentionally.
we have decorations. We just have a more moderate, maybe, decorations. We have something on the mantle, and then we've got a tree, and then that's about it.
You're trying to avoid that commercial.
Well,
push,
you know,
and that's
it's-
appropriate. Yeah.
We're also trying to avoid having to put it up in January. You know?
Well, there is that.
But yeah, you know, it's just trying to make sure, especially with kids, just trying to make sure that they have perspective as best as we're able to provide it, which is sometimes a challenge.
I wouldn't imagine it's a big challenge for your little boy. He's very serious.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Elena, on the other hand, is going to grow up to be a nice, assertive young woman.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And does she want more?
For like more presents and stuff.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
They both are pretty present oriented.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
suspect.
they've
yeah.
got
Well,
their
the
eye on
kids-
the ball. Yeah.
Right. But the-
You know, for the windfall that they
Father Mark has
anticipate.
bypassed that stage now in life because his children are older, and the presents come of a different nature.
True.
There's
More expensive.
yes, well, yes. I found that out
Throughout the
myself.
year.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's
yeah.
not the initial cost, it's the upkeep on these
It's
kids.
not just Christmas anymore. It's all year long.
That's right.
Amen for that.
But now, when your kids were little, did you try to minimize a little bit on the commercial side, or did you just throw caution to the winds?
No, and we were both pretty careful of not letting the season get away from us, and to let it drive what we were trying to work on in the house. So we have decorations, and Christmas was opening gifts was a big event, but it wasn't as if the whole world changed for the month and a half before Christmas, that people got skewed in their outlook or things like that. We said, this is a nice event for you, but let's not get carried away with it.
Did I understand that you weren't always a man of the cloth?
I have been ordained for about 2.5 years.
Really?
So I was 6 when I was ordained. No.
Yes,
I
thought maybe so.
He was in the professional world and very successfully for a long time, and then he got the call and decided that's what he was going to do and answer the calls. He went to the Shoda House, the seminary, and since has been out doing God's work, and now he's come to Lincoln, and this is our first official parish, isn't it, Father?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Well, we'll break you in right, brother.
Teach you the way it's got to be done.
Yeah.
I worked for the seminary for a little while after I graduated, and but you're right, this is my first time to be on the other side of the desk in the parish. I was active in my home parish before seminary for about 20 years, but this is the first time as rector and priest.
The cat's coming in, and the cat is here now. This is a routine we go through, gentlemen.
I see.
This is this de rigueur. No,
she's a typical female, I guess. When she's in, she wants to be out. When she's out, she wants to be in.
And
so we tend to
she's
that.
accommodated. Whatever she wants,
and
she
nobody
gets.
notices.
So it must be Lola. Must be the cat. Must be named Lola, because whatever she wants, she certainly gets.
Yeah, she does.
Go ahead. You started to ask Padre something.
Oh, where was your home? Your hometown?
Well, I grew up in a farm in Iowa, went to college in Iowa, worked in Des Moines for a few years, and then moved to Stevens Point, Wisconsin, which is where I stayed for 20 years. Met my wife there, and then left there to go to seminary in the Milwaukee area, and lived in that area for 6 years, and now we're here.
Well, you're one of the people then that Minnesotans refer to affectionately, I'm sure, as an Iowegian then. Is that right?
That's true. I have heard that before.
Yes,
Iowegian?
An Iowegian,
Okay.
yes. That's a Norwegian from Iowa.
You folks will have a lot of inside Norsky things to talk about then.
We
And
used
poor old
some
Phil
words in the car.
Poor old Phil and I will be right out of the, way out on the periphery somewhere,
Yeah, we'll
Phil.
just take a little siesta here.
Well, have you what as a newcomer to Lincoln? This may be off the wall, Mark. What was your first impression to come into Lincoln Logan County?
Watch it.
Boy, that's an open question.
And this is being
we can't be hurt.
This is being recorded too.
Yes, that's right.
For prosperity and Episcopalians.
Yes, everything I say will be held against me. The first time we came here was for the interview, which, if memory serves, was June, I believe. As we were leaving Logan County and driving back home, my wife said, "It feels good here." And we'd only been here 24 hours or so.
That's interesting.
And she said, "It feels good here."
Well, that's interesting. And as a side issue there, the weekend that they came in, the Ales for Tales, the folks of the Humane Society were having one of their fundraisers. And Mark and Sandy were there for a short time for that. So I guess that was the party was their opening introduction to Lincoln. And since then, we've had Ellen Burbage up here just recently to talk about how well they've done and how pleased they are with getting that facility open.
Phil has a rescue dog.
Yes. No, my dog was rescued.
Oh.
My dog will not save you.
She doesn't have a cask around her neck to climb the
Well,
Alps.
semantics.
My dog, yeah.
We deal in semantics anywhere
Which was
up here.
rescued.
She was rescued, and that's a good thing. And she kind of looks like dogs I've had. She looks like she was made by a committee.
Yes.
But the kids love her.
They do too much.
Yeah.
For her tastes.
Well,
Does she have a table to hide under if she needs to?
Well, she can make them go away if she really feels compelled.
Now, Phil, at what time of the year did you come aboard here with the Presbyterian?
July.
In July. Father comes in here at a rather hectic time of the Christian year, so to speak. Not only Christmas season, but then, of course, inevitably we come to the end of the year. That means the planning for next year and the annual meetings and the budgets and so forth, and that ever-present danger of not having enough money to raise in all the churches. So you come really with some double-edged challenges as you come here, Padre.
Yes, it has been. Life has been full, shall we say?
One of the challenges that it seems most are facing, in fact, I just noticed some new commercials on television last night by the Catholic Church saying, "Come home," to the church. And churches across the country are experiencing a decline in their memberships. What's your take on that? Why is this happening? Don't look at one another.
We could spend like 2 minutes on it, or like the next 6 weeks on it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, really.
The bottom line is, I think that some of the culpability lies with the churches themselves, and some lies with the culture that they're in. I think it's a mutual problem. I think churches, the message that I think churches are trying to convey about who Christ is and what we believe as Christians is universal, but sometimes the way in which you tell that story needs to be changed. It has throughout history, the ways in which you tell the story. And sometimes churches are slow to do that or failing to do that, but then also we live in a culture that isn't that receptive at the moment to some of the things we have to say. So I think it's a mutual problem. That's my nutshell answer.
Is it that the young people aren't as dedicated to whatever as the old people are? In fact, we had a new couple join our church a little bit ago, and I told them I was really glad to have them, but I sure wish they had some little kids, because us old people are going to crappy off, and then who's going to come,
Right.
What's with the fact that you don't see many young children in many churches?
Well, again, there's a lot of answers to that I think are it's diverse. A lot of families aren't just dying to leave the house at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. That, with the way that work schedules are and whatnot, I think that there's a different perspective on their time. I don't think that they're any less spiritual than people that came before them. I think that life has changed.
Frenetic times. These are frenetic times, are they? And you see, as opposed to what we grew up with times, we have families, most, two working parents. Sundays may in fact be the only time that the families per se can be together. Now it would be nice to be altruistic and say, well, let's go to church together. But the unfortunate truth is that that's not a big demand on, and so it's just kind of axiomatic that when you have hardworking families, some families with 4 jobs between 2 parents, it gets a little tough.
True.
If as Phil said, that there's lots of answers. That's a great question, and there's lots of answers to it. We might need 4 days to explore them all. One of the things that I think I've noticed is, to talk about the message, is how do we make the story of salvation relevant to people's lives? And how do we make it so that they want to be a part of it, as opposed to just knowing of it, to grab their hearts, not just their heads. And that's the struggle in this day and age. There's so many things that you can gravitate towards that seem to fulfill whatever spirituality that you're seeking. How do we make the story that we have relevant enough to rise to the top, to become something that people look for?
To make people want.
How do you respond to the time-honored phrase that you don't have to go to church to be a Christian?
Well, and I've said it in sermons.
And there are hypocrites there, besides.
Well, but the church is a hospital for sinners. I mean, it's like saying you don't go to the hospital because there's sick people there. Well, that's why they're there.
Yeah.
Okay? If we weren't sinners, we wouldn't need to go to church. So that's the answer to the hypocrite thing. The other thing that I've said in sermons is there is no such thing as an individual Christian. Christianity is communal. It's you have to be part of a larger group, because none of us has gifts or talents of our own that are sufficient to do us well, to live into the life that God has created for us. We need to be around other people so that our gifts meld with their gifts, and the whole community then is uplifted so that everyone benefits. So an individual Christian to me is it's good, but it's not there yet.
That speaks to, I did a little researching. Thank God for Wikipedia and things. And I found out Frederick the Great said, all religions must be tolerated, for every man must get to heaven in his own way. Well, that's pretty profound and pretty basic. It doesn't take a brilliant philosopher like Frederick the Great to come up with something like that, but he's the one that put it in words. Yeah. So I would presume that that's the thesis, that the theory that pastors, ministers, priests in every denomination work on. We all try to get there in our own way. Maybe some of us need a little direction, though.
Right.
Do you think, just on a more mundane level, that if you're interested in coin collecting, you'd hang out with a bunch of numismatists,
You said that right.
It's amazing. Even a blind
She's
pig gets an
amazing.
acorn once in a while.
I've never been more proud to have you as a member of our church.
Thank you, Phil.
That was a
Thank you. It's nice to have someone be proud of you once in a while. But wouldn't that be one reason to go, is that these are people of like mind?
It is easier. I mean, Christianity, I think, if you're doing it right, is by its nature hard. And it's much easier to do something hard when you're doing it with other people than when you're trying to do it by yourself. Because, it's like having an exercise partner. It's much easier to get up at 6 and go to the gym if you're meeting your friend there, and you're accountable to each other, and you can support each other, and you can make it a better process for each other than if you're trying to do it alone. I mean, it's much easier to sustain a healthy prayer life, a desire to help other people, a desire to continue to grow in yourself and correct your own mistakes and draw yourself closer to God and be drawn closer to God. It's much easier to do that in a community when the community functions. But I mean, and I think Father Mark would agree with this, I expect. I'm going to put words in your mouth. But the church has to function. I mean, the church has to also make clear that everybody's on the same journey. I think sometimes the church gets into a situation where you've got these people who are doing it wrong and these people who are doing it right. And the people that are doing it wrong can feel alienated and left out, and they don't want to be a part. I mean, if they don't want to be...
Well, if you're not wanted.
Right. I mean, it can make you feel as though you're not wanted. And I think the church always needs to have an air of humility about its proclamation, which I thought you put very well with your statement about our sinful nature. So it's kind of all just part of a big puzzle.
Is being a C&E person better than nothing, or not good enough?
I mean, talk about putting words in person's mouths. Every kind of work starts somewhere. So going to church twice a year or 3 times a year is, yes, better than not doing anything at all. I guess the thing we have to be careful of is that we can never be satisfied with where we are. God loves all people as they are, but he also expects us to grow too. And whether we're on, one side of the altar or the other side of the altar, doesn't mean, the same dictum applies. Keep growing. So, yes, it's better, but again, we're never quite there. Being a Christian, I think, is like being a craftsman. As you say, a woodworker or something, as you're learning to work with wood, you make these simple things that are very nice, better than you ever did before, but you don't want to stop with that level of expertise. You want to keep going, and you go, and you go, and you go. And being a Christian is the same way. You don't get discouraged that you're not perfect, but at the same time you don't get complacent that you're far enough along.
That business of being perfect, though, that's not too easy. I mean, you get all these little reminders all day,
Daily.
every day, that you ain't there, kid.
That's part of the growth, though, because as you grow, then you see things that maybe wouldn't have been noticeable before, and now they are. So I think that's a healthy thing, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as long, again, if you're being told you're not perfect by someone who's portraying themselves as perfect, that's pretty unpleasant. But if you're being told that you're not perfect by somebody else who says,
by some still
I'm
small
not either,
voice.
And let's work together, that's a different thing altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's the C&E question is one I always struggle with that too. And I always just think, if you're listening or you're a person that comes on Christmas and Easter, just don't let yourself settle there. I mean, I think like Father Mark was saying, there's more to faith than Christmas Eve and Easter Sunday, and a lot more. And I hope people will, if you've gotten into a rut and that's kind of how things have developed, then that's one thing, but just try not to settle in that spot.
And we're going to talk about Christmas after we're going to take a little commercial break. Speaking of Christmas, we have to have these things to make these programs go. Mr. Ash, we're ready for your break whenever you're ready, sir.